Yo, this is one of my favorites. Claydol. They've given Claydol so many moves over the years. And let me tell you, it was not relevant before. It's still not going to be relevant. There were a lot of changes. I will preface this by saying some of these changes are, at least in my mind, irrelevant. We don't have all the numbers yet for all these changes. So I can't necessarily say that, like, you know, everything I say right here is definitely going to be, like, fully accurate. And also, I might have not the best takes at times. I might be wrong. This is going to be the tier list, and I'll just break down by tiers. S tier being the highest tier, you know, godly tier, one of the probably the most strongest Pokemon in the meta and even outside of the meta in limited formats in all likelihood. A tier, pretty strong, maybe just a step below godly tier, but still very, very strong, usable. B tier, still pretty strong as well, maybe not as necessary on a lot of teams, but could still be pretty good. C tier is like where you're going to that spice category. A lot of spice picks typically aren't good. That's why they're spice. You know, I think anti-meta would be a little bit above the C tier. But yeah, C tier is kind of like spice. Like sometimes you can win games with it, but it's not very reliable. D tier is just not great. Unsure is going to be a category because we don't have all the numbers on all the moves yet. I'm kind of speculating. And maybe if the move is really, really good, then that might be fine. But if the move's not so good, then it'll probably just drop a tier or two. So at the moment, I'd be unsure on it. Irrelevant is just like there's a bunch of Pokemon that get a bunch of random Pokemon that get moves in this moveset, and I think they're irrelevant before, and they're probably still gonna be irrelevant. The hot garbage category as well. The worst of the worst. It's don't use it, don't invest in it, save your Stardust, save your charge TM, save your fast TMs. It's not worth the time, despite the fact that it got a buff or change or whatever. First and foremost, I'm going to talk about all the changes, and then there's some new moves that got added and Pokemon that got some new moves. On top of that, at the very end, I'm going to talk about Pokemon that have gotten nerfed by a move or buffed by a certain move buff, but they didn't get a new move, but they're very meta relevant Pokemon, and so therefore it should be relevant for it being added. I won't cover all Pokemon, obviously. You know, like for example, let's say Bastion. I'm not going to cover Bastion because it didn't get a moveset update. It didn't get any like changes, any buffs or nerfs to its moves, and get any new moves. So I'm not going to cover that. There's only one Pokemon I'm going to cover related to that, but I'll talk more about that later. There's some new attacks, 3 new attacks, and you know, some of this we don't have all the data on it. Some of it's data mined, but I take it with a grain of salt until it's fully released. We got Trailblaze, which is a grass type charge attack, 65 power. And increases attack by 1 stage. I believe it's similar to a flame charge clone, but just grass move. So could be pretty interesting depending on what gets it. And let's just say a lot of things get it. Scorching Sands, ground type charge attack, 80 power, a chance to lower opposing Pokemon's attack by 1 stage. And according to, again, the data mines, it shows that it's pretty much like a Scald clone. So could be pretty interesting. And there's some nerfs to ground moves later on as well that I'll talk about. So this might be a pretty good replacement for some Pokemon that learn that nerf ground move. Triple Axle, ice type charge attack. So another charge attack, 60 power, and increases attack by 1 stage. I believe it's an ice attack, so I believe it's an Icy Wind clone, but instead of debuffing the opponent's attack, it increases your attack by 1 stage. So kind of like a reverse of what it does. Some attack changes. Spark. It is getting increased in damage. So instead of 4 damage, it does 6 damage per spark. But energy generation will decrease. Now, exactly how much of a nerf that is, we'll have to wait and see. So more damage, of course, but you gain less energy for it. And typically speaking, energy is more valuable than damage in most regards. So this probably will be a nerf to Spark. It will make it so that Lantern can't get to Surfs every 5 sparks and Thunderbolt into every 7 sparks. But we'll have to see how much of an impact it is. But this seems like a direct hit to Lantern, and we'll talk more about that later on. Astonish, energy generation increased. That's about it. Same damage, same turn duration, obviously, and all that stuff. Again, we don't really have the values on this one, so we had to kind of speculate a little bit. but we already have Shadow Claw, which is a very good ghost move, like probably the best by quite a margin. So it's gonna be hard to top that. We got Psychic. It's going from 90 damage to 85, and that's about it. It's not a huge hit, and honestly, this was probably a check to Medicham, but it is something. Exeter gets a 20 damage buff. Energy cost is going to be increased, but that's a lot more damage. That's a lot. That's 4 times more damage than the damage that was nerfed off of Psychic, to put it in perspective. Again, we don't really know the energy cost of it yet, but that is going to be an interesting one to look into. Aerial Ace, energy cost is decreased. So that's going to be interesting too, because Aerial Ace was already kind of like the lesser of the flying charge moves, but maybe not anymore. Especially because Sky Attack is also getting an energy increase. Again, energy typically is more impactful than damage, so lowering the energy on Aerial Ace and increasing the energy on Sky Attack really changes things up for these charge flying moves. And like I said earlier when I was doing my battles, RIP Lugia in Master League. But yeah, that's going to impact quite a bit in terms of the flyers in the meta. Dig is going from 100 damage to 80, but energy cost is decreased. In all likelihood, this is going to be a buff, and like I said, energy typically is more valuable than damage, so reducing the damage is fine, assuming that the energy cost is lower quite a bit. Earthquake, it is losing 10 damage. That's it. So just a straight nerf, no change in energy. It's definitely going to hurt a lot of the heavy hitters that use Earthquake a lot, and we'll talk more about that, but definitely a nerf in all respects. Poltergeist going from 140 power to 150 power, and that's it. So just more damage, and again, the energy doesn't change, and the energy cost is quite high. Shadow Ball is already a pretty good move. Like, this is going to be an interesting one, but I don't think it's going to make much of a difference, because a lot of the Poltergeist users aren't really going to run it if they have Shadow Ball as an option. Boom Burst, energy cost decreased. We've been waiting like 6 months for this one, I guess. But yeah, Boom Burst is back on the updates, and energy cost is going to decrease. I mean, they got to do something to encourage people to use Boom Burst. I don't think this is going to be it, but I could be mistaken. We're going to start off with Magnemite. I'm going to put it at D tier. Yeah, I'm going to put it at D tier. It learns Fast Attack, Volt Switch. Now, I would put it at Irrelevant, but I know that some people definitely run Magnemite in some draft formats when all the other electrics are drafted. And it's not the worst XL electric Pokemon. It's just not good in overall formats. Like, there's really no reason to run it unless you're running, like, some very limited draft format where there's a bunch of bands and you're, like, in a 50-person, draft when you're looking for one possible electric left. So, it has some utility, but not a lot. Magnezone also gets Volt Switch as well as Magneton. Magneton could be okay. I don't think it's like super useful, but you could definitely make it work sometimes in like Cancer Cup or sometimes Ultra League as an XL. Like, there's definitely some formats you can, but it's not really meta relevant. Honestly, I'll just put this in D. There's gonna be a long list. Magnezone, though, I think could be definitely a little bit better, especially maybe a little bit in Ultra League. Not so much Great League. Maybe Ultra League. I mean, maybe Holiday Cup sometimes. But definitely for that Master League. I'm going to put it in the C tier, though, because there's a lot of things that's just kind of beat Magnezone these days. There's so many ground types, even in Master League, like Garchomp, Ursaluna. A lot of counter users like Haxorus. I mean, you even got Chestnut, which is kind of annoying to face, right? So, but Volt Switch will help it a little bit. And again, these are Pokemon. I mean, you had Thundershock on the Magneton. I don't remember if you had a Magnemite or not. But I think all three of them learned Spark. And nerfing Spark does give these three a little bit more avenue for play now that they have Volt Switch. Regieleki also gets Volt Switch. Master League electric types are just kind of hard to use, in my opinion. Dude, I don't even know where... Oh, here it is. Yeah, I put it at D tier. I can't see this really being relevant in most respects. Actually, I'll put this as irrelevant. I don't think this actually does much. Actually, no. Let's move this hot garbage. Like, when are you really going to use a Regieleki, right? Let's throw Regieleki at hot garbage. It's just not. Pure electric, especially in Master League, is just such a bad idea. You can't even run it in Premier, right? It's a legendary. So you're facing all these dragons, a bunch of ground types. Like, it's just not a good time. Yo, this is a cool one. Swallow getting Mudshot is pretty dope. Now, here's the thing. It gets walled off by quite a few things. But here, I'm just want to put this as a placeholder for now, just so I could type this in. So, looking at Swallow's movesets, and so Swallow is actually one of the bulkiest Pokemon in Great League. So, it has access to Sludge Bomb, Gunk Shot, Ice Beam, and Acid Spray. Obviously, it does lose a lot of coverage on things, but it's got quite a bit of bulk. So, looking at it against a Jellicent, it's actually got pretty much the same defense, a little less attack than Jellicent, but it has a lot more stamina. So it's bulkier than a Jellicent. It's got pretty good typing. Poison's not bad. I think this will probably go more towards the C tier though. I think it's got interesting coverage. Probably good for limited cups. I can't imagine it being super relevant in Open Great League, but it could be a neat pick. Greedence gets Mudshot. That's an interesting one. Honestly, like Greedent has not been super relevant of late, but especially with especially in Ultra League with all the Swords of Justice coming out, right? Like Verisia and Cobalion, they're very, very strong, and it's just Greedent. It's just a little bit hard to use against Regiseal. I think it could be okay at times. I think in some limited formats it could be okay, but I think overall in open formats, not so much. So I'm going to put it right here for now. It has some play. I don't know if Mudshot's even helping it too much, because Bolt Seed's okay for energy generation already, and tackles you get stab. But Mudshot gives you a little bit more variety. The problem with Greedent is that's like 2 charge moves. It has Body Slam and Crunch, that's it. So it needs a little bit more on the charge move side. Toxicroak will now learn the fast attack Mudshot. That's kind of interesting. Doesn't need Mudshot because it already has counter. I don't think it does. Counter's already such a good move. I don't think this really hurts Toxicroak. Obviously, like getting a new move is not going to hurt it much, but it's probably not going to help it a ton. I'm going to put it at B tier though. I think Toxicroak is definitely one of the better fighting type Pokemon, especially in Great League. Has some play in Ultra League for the most part. I don't think that Mudshot really helps him much. You don't get stab on Mudshot either, right? You're poison fighting. Like counter's so good, especially for stab. Onyx is now able to learn the charge attack Breaking Swipe. Onyx is self-learning it is probably not that relevant. I think, it'll be pretty good for maybe like Little Cup and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it'll be kind of annoying in Little Cup. I will say that. Again, very limited formats. I'm going to put it like here. I mean, it just really depends on if you value Little Cup more than maybe a Halloween Cup or something, but I personally think Little Cup doesn't help too much. So, fun fact: Greedent beats Bastion now. No shot, really? Wait, no way. Let me check this real quick. Oh, dude, it really does. Wait, let me put on Crunch only instead of Bison Baits. Wait, it really does. Oh, that's so uncomfortable. All right, let me check. We can't rely just on the Bastion, but let's check Regiseal. Okay, hold up. It could beat Regiseal in the one shield. This is again. Well, let me check like a high rank Regiseal. Yeah, it could be Regiseal in the one shield. It has win cons against Regiseal. I still don't think it's like amazing, but I'll move it to bottom B. I'm convinced. For now. I mean, that's pretty nutty. Steelix gets Breaking Swipe as well. Dude, this is actually going to be real annoying to face. I don't know in Great League, because Great League there's... Actually, no. I think it's actually going to be super annoying. Let's put in A tier. Like, in the right situation, Steelix can be a complete wall. Especially in Ultra League. Like, it's already pretty strong in Ultra League, but if you get in the right situation in Ultra League, it is kind of disgusting. I'll probably put it at like a very low A tier, but it definitely could be good. It's just a little less flexible, especially because Earthquake's getting nerfed, and it just doesn't play as well into like Regiseal. But like, if you avoid Regiseal, it could be interesting. I've beaten a Swampert with a Steelix before in Ultra League on even shields. I think they just kept trying to bait me with Earthquake, Hydro Cannon, and like it didn't work, right? And I was able to just debuff it a ton with the Psychic Fangs, so... Yeah, debuff Psychic Fangs and then also the Breaking Swipe. Like, you don't really want to shield anything, but... What about, like, Umbreon? Like, does Greedent beat Umbreon, you mean? Let me take a look. I mean, if Greedent's beating Umbreon, that would be pretty wild. Alright, versus Umbreon, rank 1 versus rank 1. Greedent can win it in the 2 shields. That's kind of wild. That battle will take over 2 minutes. But it is possible. Rhydon is now able to learn the charge attack breaking swipe. Rhydon has way too many weaknesses. Like, I think it's fine that it could learn that. But at this current time, we're going to have our first irrelevant Pokemon. Rhyperior is also able to learn breaking swipe. This one's not too bad because you have some play into stuff like, especially in Master League. But I kind of put this at D tier. Put it right here. Like, it has maybe some play. It's still very hard to use. Sceptile is now able to learn the charge attack breaking swipe. Yeah, I'm putting it as irrelevant. Like, it already knows Dragon Claw, right? Like, breaking swipe's not going to help it too much. The typing just doesn't help it a ton. Like, maybe you could make the argument for D tier, but I just think if Sceptile's not relevant now, it's not going to be relevant with a different type of dragon attack. You know, if you can Mega it and run it, you know, the Mega form, that might be different, but that's a format that we rarely see in general. Heliolisk will now be able to learn the charge attack breaking swipe. So this is an interesting one. Looking at the different moves that Heliolisk can learn. So it's like electric normal type, which that typing itself is like, it's okay. But it's got Mud Slap, which is not the best move, unless you're playing Electric Cup, but it's banned from that. You got Quick Attack and Volt Switch, which is not the worst moves. It has quite the variety of moves, but just electric type in general, outside Lantern, is just really hard to use, I would say. I think it is going to be a nice upgrade, but is it going to be meta? Probably not. Can you maybe use it in some situations? Maybe. I think it's got less utility than an Onix and a Little Cup. Regidrago is now able to learn Charge Attack Breaking Swipe. Dude. No, still hot. I put it next to the brother of Regieleki. It's still pretty hot garbage. Like, it's just a pure dragon type in a meta full of dragon types. And, like why run Regidrago Breaking Swipe when you could run Rayquaza with Breaking Swipe in Master League? And it's not going to have any relevance in the other leagues, in my opinion. Excelgor is now able to learn the fast attack Water Shuriken. Water Shuriken is actually a really solid move. Excelgor is going to be the interesting factor. Pure bug type, which is not necessarily the best typing. It learns Acid Infestation as the other fast move, so you pretty much want to replace it. You have Acid Ray, Bug Buzz, Focus Blast, and Signal Beam. It could be like a really spicy pick, like a really bad spicy pick. I guess it may be doing something, but I think it's really, really hard to use. It's really, really hard to use. So, me personally, I'm not a huge fan of it, and I'm so much of not a huge fan of it. I can't even find it on this tier list. Where's this thing at? Oh, here it is. Yeah, I'm gonna put it pretty far down here. I mean, anything with Water Shuriken and Focus Blast, I don't want to count it out completely, but it's gonna be a little tough. Hitmonlee will now be able to learn the Charge Attack Blaze Kick. I think it's better than the Regis, but I'm gonna put Hitmonlee in hot garbage still. It's just so many better fighting types. So many better fighting types. I don't even know Blaze Kick really helps it with much. Like, Stone Edge was probably fine for coverage. Mian Xiao is just straight hot garbage. There's nothing you could do to make this thing good. Mian Xiao is also going to learn Blaze Kick. Like, it's so bad. It's so bad. I looked at the moves to get learned, and I feel like there's nothing you could do to make Mian Xiao good. I'll put it before the Regis as a little consolation prize, but no one's running Mian Xiao. That is like, if there's like 50 fighters on a list of Pokemon to pick from, like, Mian Xiao is like Pokemon number 51 on that list. Incineroar has Blaze Kick. That's okay. Like, again, I don't know. I don't know how this is gonna be. Like, I feel like Incineroar needs something else than just Blaze Kick. It's okay typing, but it's just like, let's just put it here for now. There might be a chance that has, like, Magnemite has like so much overlapping with Magneton and Magnezone, whereas Incineroar is a little bit more unique in its typing and its role, but I don't think it's gonna be good. Riolu getting Blaze Kick, it's pretty irrelevant. I mean, maybe for a Little Cup, but it's pretty irrelevant, I think, even for a Little Cup. Lucario with Blaze Kick, it's like okay in limited formats, but does the Blaze Kick really help you with anything? I don't think so. I'll put it right here. Lucario is still a little bit. I mean, it's been okay in some limited formats. I will say that. I'll put it right here after Rhyperior. Rhyperior might have some interesting play, but especially with Breaking Swipe because it's a much better move than Blaze Kick for sure. Golisopod. This is an interesting one. Golisopod gets Razor Shell. And we'll talk more about the other updates as well. Because Razor Shell is like, do you really need it, right? When... what was the other move that... I'm like blanking on the other move that it got last time around. Liquidation, right? Like, do you really need it over Liquidation? Probably not. But here's the more important thing. Golisopod also learns Airways. And it also learns X-Scissor. And both of them got a buff, and Golisopod has Shadow Claw. Like, you can't really ask for more if you're a Golisopod fan. Like, you're getting buffs. You got a new move last season. You got a new move again this season. And then you got 2 buffs to your current movesets. Like, Golisopod could be pretty interesting, especially depending on how much of a buff Airways and X-Scissor got. Is it going to be, like, super busted, especially in Open Great League? Probably not. But I put it in A tier. I mean, you wall off the moveset of Swampert. You wall off the Alolan Sandslash outside of the Shadow Claw damage, right? And there's not a lot of Alolan Sandslash counters that are reliable. You wall off Walrein, right? So it has a lot of play in Open Ultra League as well. It's a pretty strong Pokemon. And if the Airways buff is enough and X-Scissor buff is enough, it could be pretty solid. Krabby getting Razor Shell. Look, what is that going to do, right? Not much. All this crustacean. Kingo getting Razor Shell. I mean, they have Crab Hammer, right? Why not just run Crab Hammer? It's such a good move, and it's so hard to make it relevant. Speaking of more crustacean, Corphish getting Razor Shell, Crawdon getting Razor Shell, Shelder getting Razor Shell, Cloyster getting Razor Shell. Like, I think just throwing stuff on to make it harder to have charge TMs. Like, luckily these Pokemon aren't super relevant. Otherwise, it's just a charge TM nightmare, just having another thing to TM through. Barbarical getting Razor Shell. That's a weird one. Barbarical is not really that great in open metas, although it might have some play in limited metas. It currently has Cross Chop, Stone Edge, Skull Bash, and Grass Knot. So it doesn't have a water fast charge move, but it does have water typing. So it is missing that stab charge move for water purposes. So it could be okay. I don't think it's going to be meta relevant. You could also run a slightly XL'd rank 1. You don't even need the XL version in Ultra League. And I'm pretty sure I faced a Barbarical or so in some like Ultra League limited meta. I forgot what it was. I think it's like Weather Cup Ultra League or something. I don't know. It's not going to be that great, but I wouldn't say that it's completely out of the picture in limited meta. It's just open meta, so it's going to be not so good. That being said, I'd probably put it here. I've seen more Barbarical than Incineroar, so we'll just put it that way. Before we get into Magical, to the updates, let's look at how good Magical Leaf even is compared to a lot of the other grass moves. So Magical Leaf, it's 3.33 damage per turn and then 3.33 energy per turn. So pretty even, you know, in that respect. It is a 3-turn move. It's not as much energy as Leafage. It's less energy than Vine Whip, but it does more damage than both of them. It's way less energy than Bolt Seed. It's a little bit better than Razor Leaf, but is it a great move? Not necessarily. Is there a lot of things that are going to be irrelevant that learn it? 100%. So we got Mr. Mime. Where's that Mr. Mime at? Yeah, pretty irrelevant. I'm not even going to organize the irrelevant category in any specific order. They're all irrelevant, so it doesn't really matter. Probably not. Chikorita, no. I would probably run Vine Whip on it still. Chikorita, I guess in general is like okay for like little cups. So I think that's probably okay. I mean, it's not actually not terrible in little cups like Element Cups. So I'll just put it as like a C tier for now. But yeah, I mean, Magical Leaf is not helping it much. Bayleaf is kind of interesting because it really only has what? Tackle and Razor Leaf, right? So it gives it a little bit more utility, but it's a pure grass type. Yeah, Tackle and Razor Leaf. It's a pure grass type. It does have Ancient Power and Grass Knot. It's not very good though. I'd say Honestly, I say it's still kind of hot garbage, even with the mystical, even with the magical leaf. Meganium also gets magical leaf. Meganium in itself is like okay, but I just think that magical leaf isn't going to help it too much. I'd say Meganium is kind of like a D tier Pokemon though. Let's put it right here. Like it has some play, but just like grass is very hard to use in general, and a pure grass type like Meganium is just not doing great. And honestly, if you run Meganium, you'd probably be running Pine Whip. But it does get Magical Leaf now in case you want to switch it up a little bit. Blossom also gets Magical Leaf. And again, it's kind of like, yeah, you're running Razor Leaf before on this. I think you had Seed Bomb too, right? If I'm not mistaken. It's kind of bad though. It's like, it's not very good. I'll put it right here. Like, it's like okay, but it's like pure grass type. It's just not very good, right? Rosalia also gets Magical Leaf. Rosalia is also like a very niche Pokemon. Like it has some maybe niche play in limited metas. Back in the Sylph metas, maybe a little bit, but it's not very good. Roserade. So Roserade has some interesting play. I don't think the Magical Leaf is really necessary because Bolt Seed is actually pretty good for energy generation already. Allows you to spam off a lot of moves. Yeah, I think in limited metas it could be okay. I'll put it here. Nah, let's put it. Dude, I see Roserade in freaking Master League Premier, so I actually don't know because I can't say like I've even lost to some. I'm just gonna put it. It's kind of a head scratcher. I'm gonna put it before the heel of this. Actually, I think I remember one of the first people to hit Legend one of the seasons ran a Roserade in Ultra League Premier to do it. So, like, it's not, like, terrible, but I don't think the Magical Leaf is a huge help. I'm just saying Roserade in general. Miss Magius is now able to learn the Fast Attack Magical Leaf. Kind of irrelevant, I think. Miss Magius, kind of irrelevant. I think Miss Magius does learn Astonish, right? Am I mistaken? No, it doesn't even learn Astonish. Never mind. Yeah, it's definitely bad. I thought maybe Astonish, Astonish got a buff. Maybe it's okay. But yeah, what does that really do for Miss Magius? Shaman is also able to learn Magical Leaf. Looking at the moveset of Shaman, I don't think this is going to be very good. But it has now, instead of Hidden Power and Zen Headbutt, it has a grass move. And it has 4 grass charge moves. Pretty irrelevant, I gotta say. I'm not even gonna say irrelevant. It's kind of hot garbage. It's just like straight grass moves. Like, what is Shaman ever going to be good for? Like, I don't think it's going to be good for anything, right? I don't know. Maybe it has like some exclusive move, but like it's just not great. Yeah, it's got like it literally has all grass moves. Like, what is that? It's like a meme Pokemon. This is a legendary too? Like, what? Dude, I hate how this happens every time. Rowlet, Dartrix, and Decidueye. This whole Decidueye family all gets Magical Leaf. They literally all got Leafage last season, if I'm not mistaken. And they weren't good. And I don't think they're going to be good either right now. I mean, they have some interesting typing, specifically Decidueye. Dartrix is flying grass. Like, it could be okay, I guess. I think Rowlet's still pretty irrelevant. Dartrix, and I feel like Dartrix it's just bad. It's just really bad. I mean, you had Leafage and stuff. What's Magical Leaf going to do for you? Leafage, I think, is arguably better. It's like a bad, like, flying grass type. I'll put it at D tier. I'll put both of these at D tier. Like, there's some slight utility in them, but like it's very, very not reliable. I did face, like, one of the random limited cups. I did face Decidueye in it a few times, but it was not very good. But yeah, I don't think Magical Leaf is helping them in any way. You probably still run Leafage on them. Kirlia is now able to learn Magical Leaf and Gardevoir. But most importantly, they're also able to learn Triple Axle. Triple Axle, like I said before, is looking like it's going to be a Icy Wind clone, except debuffing your opponent's attack, it's going to buff its attack. Kirlia itself, kind of irrelevant, I think. I don't think that's going to do much. Gardevoir could be interesting, but not because of the magical leaf. I think it's going to be because of the charm triple axle. It's going to be super annoying. It's going to be super annoying. I don't think it's going to be super good, but I'll put it right here. Like, I think you can make it work. Like, these aren't like unusable. I just think there's other options. But Shadow Gardevoir, dude, honestly, no. I could already see the future coming in some GBL matches where someone's running a Shadow Gardevoir or triple axle, and I have nowhere to go with like a Medicham or like an Umbreon, right? I can already see it happen. Like, I'm just getting destroyed by 2-shield Shadow Gardevoir in the back end matchup. Like, I think it might have some interesting play at times. It is kind of frail, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does some work. So, yeah. Especially in Psychic Cup, yeah. I think it definitely could be strong. Like, again, I think you could get cheesed on by someone running a Shadow Gardevoir with triple axle in even open metas. So, I don't want to count it out completely. It's not very good for Show 6 formats, and the official championship series, but I think it would be okay. Loligans, what the heck does this thing even do? Like, again, Magical Leaf is not that great, but Loligans is a charm user at the moment. Pure Grass type, Petal Blizzard, Hyper Beam, Solar Beam. Like, it's never been relevant. It's not going to be relevant with Magical Leaf, I think. But Meowstic. Yeah, Meowstic's an interesting one too. Psychic type with a grass move. Like, it already has Confusion, Charm, Shadow Ball, and it's like, I don't know. It's kind of a weird one. It's not relevant now. I don't think it's going to be relevant with Magical Leaf. They're going to need to do something with that, I think. Oros will learn Trailblaze. Trailblaze, like I said before, is probably going to be a Flame Charge clone, except for grass moves. Irrelevant for Tauros, at least. Sudowoodo with Trailblaze. I mean, that could be okay. It's kind of like a D-tier Pokemon still. I'll put it here. Like, it gives us some coverage, so I wouldn't count it out completely. Mareep getting Trailblaze, what does that do? Like, when's everyone ever using Mareep? I've never seen Mareep used in Little Cup, so, yeah. But there's that. Flaffy, again, not that relevant. Dude, y'all been waiting for this one. Ampharos. My man Butters should probably be real juiced about this one, but Ampharos is now learning another charge attack, Trailblaze. You know what Ampharos is turning into at this point, right? It has kind of like become a meme in itself, but it's starting to turn into Claydol. We'll talk about Claydol in a little bit. But it's like a Pokemon that you're just giving all these moves to, and you're giving it coverage against almost anything it can face, but it's still not that good. Because the problem is you can only run 2 charge moves, so it doesn't really matter if it has all this coverage. You have to expect something, right? It's got almost 1 move of every type. You got dark move, Brutal Swing, Dragon move, Dragon Pulse, Fighting move, Focus Blast, Rock move, Power Gem, Electric Thunder, and Thunder Punch, and Zap Cannon. And now you have a Grass move. What is that going to do for Ampharos? It does give you some coverage, but you have to lose coverage as a result. So now you're probably going to lose maybe Focus Blast, right? And you're going to have to throw just straight like Thunder Punch or something at Registeel, which you end up just losing, right? Like, it's just like, I don't know. You get completely walled off by like Dragon types, although there aren't a lot of pure Dragon types, but that is something to watch out for. Like, boosted Volt Switch is okay. The problem, again, is Ampharos' typing is holding back. Now, I want to be fair here for Ampharos. I wouldn't say it's hot garbage. Is it going to win a tournament this season in the official championship circuit? No. I doubt it. I'll transfer my Bastion if it does in the next 3 months. I'll stand by that. But, let's put it... I don't know. Like, I feel like Meganium has more play in some situations, honestly. Like, Meganium's not that bad. It has play into Registeel and stuff. I guess it has more play than Meganium. I'll put it here. Like, Magneton has... I mean, okay, you know what? I'll put it here. I've seen a decent amount of Ampharos in Ultra League. I've lost a decent amount of Ampharos in Ultra League, so I wouldn't put it out of the complete, like, realm of possibility, but it just... I don't know. Just not good. I wouldn't put it in C, though. Yeah, I wouldn't put it in C. Dude, I can't believe I have Heal this higher than Ampharos, but that's the times we live in. Scizor learns the charge tag, Trailblaze. I mean, Scizor's okay in a lot of metas, but I don't know if it's like, I'll put it right here. Like, it's like okay in a lot of metas, like limited metas. Like, I'm putting it here because it has less play in open metas than Ampharos does. I just don't know what Trailblaze really helps it with. Like, you're not as walled off by some of the, I don't know, you just don't Night Slash. Like, I feel like you need it, especially in Ultra League, right? Yeah, but I think Scizor itself is still like a little relevant from time to time. Cleavor also learns Trailblaze. A lot of people probably aren't familiar with what Cleavor learns. Myself included, so I'm going to look it up. But it's a bug rock type, and it has Air Slash and Quick Attack. And now it gets a grass move. It's okay. It's not that good. We haven't seen Cleavor really in any situation, so we're probably not going to see it anytime soon. I'll put it right there. Hey, it kind of looks a lot like Scyther, though. I can see why they're related. Teddy Ursa gets Trailblaze. Like, what is that? Ursa, Luna, Trailblaze. I'll put this, like, here. I haven't seen Ursa in a hot second. It has some interesting movesets for Ultra League, I guess, but it's pretty bad still. It's pretty bad. But maybe you could use it. I don't know. That's Ursa Ring. I don't know if I said Ursa Ring or Ursa, but I meant Ursa Ring. Ursa Ring being at the bottom D tier is me being a little optimistic. I still think it's kind of irrelevant, but you never know. Ursa Luna learns Trailblaze now. Ursa Luna's like okay in Premier. I don't know if Trailblaze is really going to help it too much, but it has like a Swiss army of different moves at this point in time. So I'm going to put Ursa Luna maybe around here. I think it's still pretty strong, especially in Premier. It doesn't really have much play in the other stuff. Trailblaze itself doesn't help it a ton, but it just has a lot of play in general. I think it's pretty solid. I think it's much better in Master League Premier than probably Magnus Zone these days. So that's why I'm putting it up there. You can maybe make the argument that's a B tier. I forgot what I put last season for it, but let's just keep it at C tier for now because Master League Premier is not meta you see very often anyway. Yo, if Ursula got Shadow Claw though, dude, GG's. That'll start wreaking havoc in open Master League, but for the time being, that's not really a big deal. A bunch of other random stuff that gets Trailblaze, Deerling. Dude, what is this? Oh, I put Saucebuck there first, but yeah, I'll put that right after Deerling. Not relevant. Rockruff. No, I don't even know what the moves is, but it's not going to be relevant. Lycanroc with Trailblaze. Like, Lycanroc might have some interesting play in limited metas, but I don't know. Put it maybe here. Maybe has some interesting play once in a while. I know it has a couple of different forms, but I don't know if the Trailblaze helps it much, but I think Lycanroc in general has a little bit of play from time to time. Fomantis gets Trailblaze. Lurantis gets Trailblaze. They were part of that Leafage thing last time around. Dude, Fomantis, like maybe low cup, I don't know. Lurantis with Trailblaze. It has Leaf Blade, which is one of the best, like really solid move. I don't think it's that good though. I mean, that one guy in, I think Bokum, Chung, did make the top 3 running Lurantis. It's not easy to run. He played incredibly well though. So that being said, I think I'll put it here. Not because of Trailblaze, just because Lurantis itself has interesting coverage. Something to note is a nerf to all target does help it. Because it could hit for neutral against Noctowl and now Mana Buzz, but Squovit gets Trailblaze. Like, why? What does that do? Maybe a Little Cups special? I don't know. But I don't think Trailblaze helps it much. Galarian Meowth gets it. What the heck does Galarian Meowth even learn? Like, what? Metal Claw Scratch. Yeah, no, that's a no-go for sure. Berserker gets Trailblaze. That's an interesting one. Berserker has some interesting coverage in general, but it's hard to use. It's very hard to use. It's okay in Ultra League, though, at times. Especially in limited modes like Ultra League Fantasy Cup. I'll put it here for now. The Trailblaze is not helping it too much, I think. Because unless you're trying to use an open Ultra League and there's like Swampert around, but yeah, I don't know. You had to give up coverage somewhere, which is the unfortunate part. Patchy and Vigoroth should have gotten it. Yo, J-Frash 100%. If Pachirisu got Trailblaze, that would have been huge. I would have been a big fan of that. I don't know if Vigoroth really needs it, but I mean, it could have been interesting for sure. I think I actually talked about that on the podcast too. So for those that actually wanted to hear that, you can check it out here. But me and my co-host talked about it on the podcast because we were speculating before the update came out because we recorded yesterday. Vig won't need it. North Vig. Yeah, Ninja's I think really dislikes Vig for whatever reason. I remember Ninja's writing about that earlier from the Jungle Cup memories. Yeah, no, I think if Pachirisu got it, could have been nice, especially because they had the global release of Pachirisu with the Go Fest, right? But oh well. Berserker can now hit Tapu Fini in Ultra League, but then it has to give up something at hitting Tina and Reggie. Yeah, that's the biggest problem because Berserker running Iron Head in Ultra League Fantasy Cup already gave up some type of coverage, right? So it's the same problem it has. Girafarig is now able to learn Trailblaze. Girafarig, honestly, it was like okay in some limited metas. I ain't even gonna lie. Maybe put it here. It's still kind of bad, but it was okay in some limited metas. I mean, that's what a lot of those D-tier Pokemon are, right? Some limited metas. So, yeah, Trailblaze with Confusion, Shadow Confusion could be really annoying on Girafarig. Pamphie with Trailblaze, not sure why. I think Donphan with Counter and Bison was already pretty solid against a lot of my boys. But again, that's more limited formats more than anything else. Put it right here. Yeah. Trailblaze is probably okay for it too, but I don't think he really needed it. Galarian Mr. Mime is now able to learn Charge Attack Triple Axle. What does that do? Like, Mr. Mime already was not that great. Galarian Mr. Mime Triple Axle as Ice Punch is Ice Psychic, but like, it's just not good. I'll put it next to his brother. I mean, maybe, yeah, I don't think it's gonna be that relevant. Sneasel also gets Triple Axle. Sneasel has been like not very useful for much. Weavile Triple Axle, dude. I will be honest, I used a little Weavile back when GBL first dropped in Ultra League, but it's just completely irrelevant these days. Also, the thing is, like, Weavile, like, they're relying mostly on charge attacks. Having something that boosts your attack is not going to help you too much. You might as well just throw Avalanche, right? Lopunny gets Triple Axle, which I don't know what's that for. Mr. Rhyme now gets Triple Axle. Nope. Not one of those. Steenie gets Triple Axle. Nah. Here's an interesting one. Serena gets Triple Axle. Because Serena Triple Axle is like one of its like main moves. I know in Pokemon Unite, but I think in the main series game as well. It has Magical Leaf, as Charm, as Race Leaf, Triple Axle, but I don't think it's going to be relevant still. It's just pure grass type is not helping it too much. Like, yeah, what's the ice really going to help it with, right? I think, again, the typing and the stats are going to hold it back. So I think this kind of still going to be irrelevant, unfortunately. Sandslash is now able to learn the charge attack Scorching Sand. So Scorching Sand we talked about earlier is like a Scald clone potentially based on the data mining. And so this is going to be an interesting one, especially because you nerfed Earthquake. Is it going to be good? Not really, but is it going to be better? I think so. Its typing just doesn't help it much. I put it maybe like here. I don't know. This is like, I rarely see Sandslash being put into work. I think I saw in the single type cup like a few times, so that's about it. Honestly, it's probably worse than... Yeah, I've seen this actually a lot less. Let's put it right here, I think. For now. It's just typing holds it back a little bit. Ninetales is able to learn Scorching Sands. I mean, Cancel Ninetales was already pretty decent. I don't know if Scorching Sands helps it a ton, because the overheat and weather ball damage was pretty good already. But that being said, I think it could be okay in some Great League formats, especially even open. Like, you have some utility running it from time to time. It is like, it is okay. I say it is okay. I don't think it's super crazy busted. But like Rubik's Master, for example, qualified World Championships with Ninetales. And that was before it had Scorching Sands. Again, I don't think Scorching Sands helps it too much, because you probably run Weather Ball and overheat on it. But it could be okay from time to time. You can make the argument that's bottom B tier too, but I'm going to keep it at C tier for now. Arcanine, when gets Scorching Sands, I don't think that's going to be super relevant for much. I mean, it already has Bulldoze. It already has the coverage. It's not the best typing and stats, unfortunately. Rapidash will learn Scorching Sands. I don't know. Not that great, in my opinion. Entei will learn Scorching Sands. Entei's a hard Pokemon to use. I'll just put it that way. I like it, but it's hard to use. Trapinch? Like, what? When are you using Trapinch? Little Cup? I've never even seen a Little Cup. Vibrava? What? Flygon could be interesting. Flygon's, like, had some play here or there in, like, limited formats. I'll put it here for now. I've seen more Flygon than Meganium lately, at least. Yo, this is one of my favorites. Claydol. They've given Claydol so many moves over the years. And let me tell you, it was not relevant before. It's still not going to be relevant. So let's look at how many moves it learns right now. It has Confusion, Extra Sentry, and Mud Slap for fast moves. Not that in the world. Confusion is okay. Mud Slap and Extra Sentry are pretty bad, but Confusion itself is not too bad if you can make it work. 4-turn move, but it is what it is. You got Earthquake, which is getting nerfed. You got Earth Power. You got, which is similar to Scorching Sands. You got Gyro Ball, Ice Beam, Psychic, Rock Tomb, Shadow Ball, and it's still not good. It's terrible. I think it's like okay and maybe Psychic Cup, but it's just like straight up bad in so many ways. I'm putting this in hot garbage territory here. It's hot garbage. You just can't make this good. It's weak. It's weak to water. It's weak to grass. It's weak to ghost. It's weak to dark. It's weak to ice. Am I missing something? I don't know. It's got so many weaknesses. Here's the worst part. They're adding all these moves to Claydol to try and make it relevant, and it's still not. And for anyone that dares to try to use it, has to spend about 50 TMs to try to get the moves that they want, because there's so many charge moves now on it. Hippowdon. Now I have to learn the charge attack Scorching Sand. This is like kind of a weird one too. I don't think it's going to be great. Hippowdon's really held back. Well, one, the typing, pure ground typing is not the best, but its fast moves are pretty bad. It's got Bite, Fire Fang, Ice Fang, Thunder Fang. I mean, it has a variety of moves, but it's just like, it needs a better fast move, I think. If it had like Mud Shot, that may be a different story. It has Rock Weather Ball, Body Slam, Earthquake, or Power Stone Edge. Like, it's like we said, or it's very Scorching Sand is already very similar to Earth Power, so you don't really get too much out of it. I put it as still pretty irrelevant. I think I've seen it once or twice in like some Master League meta, like Master League Premier with the Ice Fang, but like it's just hard to use. Magmar is now able to learn the smooth Scorching Sands. Not really relevant. Magmortar Scorching Sands, not that great. I mean, again, a lot of these Pokemon, like just like Ninetales, like when they have fire moves, a lot of the coverage overlaps with ground moves. You don't really need it. Diggersby will now be able to learn Scorching Sands. That's actually kind of nice. Especially because Earthquake is getting a nerf. I actually think that's going to be a pretty big one, because you could potentially run like a full stab combo of Scorching Sand and Hyper Beam. It does make it so you don't have to go all the way to Earthquake, and I don't know, Diggersby is kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting. I mean, it beats a lot of the top tier Pokemon like Registeel, Glitter Stunfisk, Steelix, Harpink. I'm gonna put it right here. Especially for Great League purposes. I think it's actually going to be pretty strong. It's going to be pretty strong, actually. But that's just my preliminary opinion. Excadrill is now able to learn Scorching Sands. So this is an interesting one to note. So looking at how much energy Scorching Sand might cost. So let's say 50 energy for 80 damage, 1.6. So it already has Drill Run, right? Which is 45 energy for 80 damage. Why would you ever run Scorching Sands over Drill Run is the question. Just for the debuff chance? Like, it seems a little redundant and unnecessary. Drill Run's just such a much better move, and they're both stab. Excadrill, though, is still a pretty strong Pokemon in general because of its coverage in Master League and stuff, and sometimes Ultra League. It's very, very strong. So I'm going to put it right up here. It's one of the best Seal types in all of, like, Master League and stuff. So I think it's pretty good. But you don't need Scorching Sands on it for the relevance of how well it is in a meta where it's relevant in, I think it's at least A tier. You could argue maybe S tier. You could definitely argue maybe S tier. Sandygas will now be able to learn Scorching Sands. Not that great. Palossand, though, is also able to, the evolution of it. Palossand, so, is interesting because it's pretty much has the same typing as Runerigus, Ghost, and Ground. It's got Mudshot already. It actually has Astonish, which also gets a buff, but I don't think it's going to be better than Mudshot. And that's Earth Power already, and Shadow Ball. And we already talked about how Scorching Sand is very similar to Earth Power, a little bit less damage per energy, but a little cheaper, and a higher chance of a debuff. I don't think it's going to be relevant. My rationale is if it's not relevant now with Earth Power, it's not going to be relevant with Scorching Sand. All right. And, oh, wait. We miss... Where did I miss Stunky. Where was the Stunky stuff? Okay, yeah. Stunky, I completely miss. It will also be getting Trailblaze. Like, it's okay in, like, Little Cup. I don't know if Scorching Sand helps it too much, but it's okay in Little Cup, I gotta say. It's not amazing in Little Cup. It's okay. I'll put it right here, I guess. It's like okay in Little Cup, so you might see some play. I don't know. Let's put it here, actually. Nah, let's put it above Scissor. I think I'm okay with that. And you got Skuntank that also learns Trailblaze, but again, Skuntank just like loses some coverage somewhere if you run Trailblaze. I don't think you really need it. Yeah, you have some coverage against the Mud Boys, but like a lot of times because Skuntank hits so hard, you land a crunch and just like try to poison jab down Mud Boys is not too bad, right? And we have the flamethrower for the steel types like Learn Stumpfist and like Registeel. So Skuntank is kind of a weird Pokemon. Like it's hard to use. I'll put it right here above Stunky. It's hard to use. It's got some play in a lot of limited metas, but let's talk about some of the buffs or some of the attack changes. So not the new moves or not new moves added, but some attack changes. How it affects a lot of meta Pokemon. This is not going to include all Pokemon that learn these moves, obviously, but I try to pull the most relevant ones that you might want to look at and how they now fall in the meta. You got Lantern. That used to be a complete S tier Pokemon by many respects. It was so busted, right? Like there's almost like no hard check to it outside of grass types. And grass types became even hard to run the moment they nerfed Trevenant. I was someone that ran a Shadow Venusaur in tournaments, and it was super hard to run that Venusaur. Because if you don't get it locked onto their Lantern or Swamp or whatever, like, you just had no play in it with a lot of matchups. And it was a shield hog. So it was definitely an S tier Pokemon that, unfortunately, it definitely needed nerf. I should say unfortunately. It definitely needed nerf. Is this nerf enough is the real question. Because the energy in generation is going to decrease. We know it's going to be a damage increase. How much energy generation decrease? That's yet to be seen. But you could run it with Water Gun. And Water Gun Lantern is kind of still really good. Like, you can still beat Registeel as long as you have shields up. You have better play into Glaring Stunfisk. You have better play into the Mud Boys, like Swampert and stuff. You still lose those matchups, but you have better play into them. You're better into Charizard. Well, I guess Charizard, you're like, it doesn't even matter that much regardless of that. Like, you have play into Medicham stuff. I think it's still a really strong Pokemon. That being said, it does become a little bit more RPS, especially if you're running into Altaria, but I don't think we see a lot of Altaria. So what do you really need the Spark for? Water Gun's going to be better into Gligar and Gliscor. Dude, honestly, I don't think Lantern's moving off S tier. I think it's still really good. Like, the problem is Water Gun Lantern is still really, really good. So the nerf to Spark just only enforces it to run pretty much Water Gun, but Water Gun Lantern is still really strong. Yeah, so here's the reason why Lantern's really strong, because you nerf Sky Attack, which means Noctowl and Altaria are nerfed, and those are like, you know, Noctowl was like okay into Lantern. It's still lost, but it like was a little bit better because it's so bulky. It could handle the Water Gun a little bit and try to get some Shadow Balls off. And if you don't land Thunderbolt, it's a much harder matchup for the Lantern. And then Altaria, you needed a Spark, right? But because Altaria is going to resist the moves. And even then, Altaria was usually a little bit at advantage. But now that Altaria knocked out probably out of the meta, and it's replaced by Aerial Ace users like Gligar, Gliscor. And then now, you know, Charizard, it has like a really strong flyer now, too, with Altaria and Noctowl out of the way. Because it just beats a lot of head-to-head matchups. You're even better with Water Gun. You're not as good into Mana Buzz, but it's not like you're terrible into Mana Buzz. Your Skarmy is very sad. Yo, Skarmy is Yeah, I didn't have the heart to put Scarman on this list, but that is definitely a hot garbage Pokemon these days, unfortunately. Yeah, Lantern's going to stay at the S tier. Honestly, it just pivots how you play it. It has a little bit less flexibility, and it might be a little bit more RPS in some situations because you have to run the water version. But Lantern's kind of disgusting still. All right, let me talk about Triple Axle Hitmontop, right? I think it's the move it learns. Because I missed that one earlier. Triple Axle Hitmontop. It's okay. I don't know if it's going to be super relevant or not. I think it's going to be D tier. It's going to be my prediction for now. Like, it's just like hard to overtop a Metacham, right? I'll put it right here for now. I'd be happy to be proven wrong, but Hitmontop is a little bit hard to use still. Waiting for Krogunk. Oh, Krogunk was just straight irrelevant, I think. I put that. Where did I put Krogunk? Oh, Krogunk, I didn't put that either. Yeah, Krogunk gets mud shot. Yeah, it's irrelevant. Sorry. Yeah, I think that's all the ones from the main new moves added one. We have Astonish. Energy generation increase. Now, we don't know the values on this yet, but my prediction is that it's not going to be better than Shadow Claw. Shadow Claw is already such a good move. So, that being said, we can look at Astonish as a quick glance right now of what it looks like. So, out of the ghost moves, you got Astonish. So right now, the highest energy generating moves is Hex and Shadow Claw are tied. But Hex is a 3-turn move, Shadow Claw is a 2-turn move, and you do more damage per turn with Shadow Claw. So Shadow Claw is better than Hex in every respect, or tied to, right? Astonish is much less in damage, also a 3-turn move, so 1.66 damage per turn, so not great for damage. But also, the energy is worse than Hex, too. So, it's worse than Hex in both ways. They're both 3-turn moves. Less damage, less energy per turn. You might gain some more energy on it, but you're not really increasing the damage much. And it's a 3-turn move, too. I don't think it's going to be amazing. But we don't know for sure. And there's a few Pokemon, I think, that learn Hex, the Astonish, that might be kind of interesting. So, the first one is going to be Amoonguss. It has Astonish. It's Grass and Poison. It has Grass Knot, Foul Play, Return if you have Purified one, and Sludge Bomb. The problem is this is the same typing as Venusaur. And Venusaur is not that great already. And has one of the best grass moves in the game, which is Frenzy Plant. Grass Knot's a little bit worse. And you have non-stab like Foul Play. Like, I don't really know what that's going to do for you. My assumption is Amoonguss is not going to be that good. But I will put it in the unsure category for now, because I really don't know, depending on the energy. Like, if it's some bust energy, like you get 6 energy, 6 EPT or something like that, energy per turn, I don't know, it probably won't be that good. Like, maybe. Amoonguss for bulk relevance, like, so it's, compared to Jellicent, slightly more attack, like 20 less defense, but 30 more stamina. So a lot more health on it. But similar stat product totals to a Jellicent. Compared to a Venusaur, it's got way less attack, like almost like 15 less attack. It actually has less defense than a Venusaur, but about 60 more stamina. So it's a very high HP Pokemon. More stat product than Venusaur, but I'm a little unsure on it. I don't think it's going to be breaking into A tier or even B tier. Maybe C or D tier, but we'll have to wait and see. The other Pokemon that learns Astonish that could be interesting is Goldengo. And again, I'm going to put this in the unsure category. I think it's going to be better than Amoonguss, in specifically Master League formats. It's pretty bad in Great League, and it's not great in Ultra League either. But Goldengo has been interesting in Master League, especially... how do you even spell this Pokemon? GH. Especially in Premier. But I've seen some people run it in Master League too. It's already got Hex. So Astonish has to be significantly better for it to be like really relevant. A lot more relevant. Because you're not really doing much damage to Hex anyway. So having a higher energy generating move can be nice. They're both 3-turn moves, right? So the pacing of it, like the feel of it won't change. You just get to moves faster. Yeah. But that's something to definitely watch out for as well. But again, we had to wait to see the stats and see. Psychic gets a 5 damage nerf, which makes Metacham a little worse, but dude, It's still going to be the king of fighters, man. Like, yeah, both Lantern and Medicham got slight nerfs, but Psychic is still going to do a ton of damage. And even if you nerf Psychic, Dynamic Punch is pretty good. I qualified for Worlds twice using Dynamic Punch Medi. I didn't even use the Psychic variants. And that makes you have better matchups against Registeel and Umbreon and Lickitung and stuff like that. And maybe Carpink even. So, Medicham is here to stay. It's going to be a little bit weaker, and I think we're going to see it in some matches here or there in a lot of these tournaments coming up. But it's still busted. It's still busted. Yeah, Ice Punch Pop Medi. Yeah, there's a lot of other options. The problem with Medi is its stats and typing are so good, it's so hard to nerf. And you don't want to nerf it so hard that literally no other fighters have any play in the meta, right? So it's kind of like a catch-22. I think a better way of dealing with Medicham is to buff its potential counters. And we're getting to that because there are some of those, right? Like I said, X-Scissor gets a buff and Aero Ace gets a buff, so Golisopod might be pretty good as a Medicham counter, especially if Psychic's doing a little less damage. On top of that, something else that learns both of those moves is Beedrill. I don't think Beedrill's going to be super good, but it could be interesting. I'm going to put it right here. I mean, without a lot of grass types, Beedrill's a little less relevant. But if Altari's out the meta and you got like Mandibuzz, you're kind of doing neutral, right? Into Mandibuzz at least. So you have some play. We'll have to see how much of a buff Aero Ace and X-Scissor is, but Beedrill's getting quite a buff in that respect. I don't think you want to run both. You probably want to run Drill Run and then one of the other moves for coverage. Could be interesting. It could be interesting. So Aero Ace gets a buff and then Dig also gets a buff, which means Gligar is kind of jumping into the picture a little bit. Again, I'm actually going to put this in the unsure category for now. We don't know how much Dig energy cost is going to decrease because they're lowering the damage on Dig. So that's kind of weird, right? Because you can't really one-shot. You probably can't one-shot a Registeel with it. But you only take neutral from Registeel's moves at least. So there's that. Actually, no. You take actually resisted. Because, yeah, ground double resisted. So you're taking resisted Zapkin. So actually kind of nice. But you can't one-shot it, right? And I don't think you can farm down with Wing Attack. But Dig is reducing 20 in damage, but the energy cost is also decreasing. So we're going to have to wait and see how much of the Dig buff really is. And also Aero Ace, right? I think Gligar might be pretty well positioned. Now, Gliscor is a different story because it had Earthquake previously. And with Earthquake, it's getting nerfed. It might not be as good. I think it's still good, but I don't know if it would be as good. And then now, you're going to get the Aero Ace buff, though. So that's something, right? That's definitely something. The problem is Lantern's going to be running Water Gun everywhere. So, I'm going to put it as a B tier for now. Gliscor is something that always simmed really well, especially because it had Earthquake and Night Slash. Now, Aero Ace obviously might be the replacement for Night Slash, but if Earthquake's getting a nerf, it might not sim nearly as well because Earthquake might not be one-shotting what it used to. However, it might be a much more reliable counter to Medicham, so there's that. But again, you kind of have to shield the Ice Punch because double super effective Gliscor is still going to be annoying. Gligar can sometimes beat Swampert. Yeah. Gligar or Gliscor? I guess both potentially. And then the last one that's really relevant in my opinion of the Aero Ace buff is Mandibuzz. So this is going to be an interesting one. Again, we have to wait and see what the Mandibuzz, what the Aero Ace buff really entails. But I'm putting it up here. And here's going to be the reasoning. If you look at all the flyers in the meta right now, all right, all the flyers. What is a flyer that can beat Mandibuzz now? Because, you know, before Noctowl actually had like some interesting matchups against Mandibuzz. It's also very bulky in his own right. And, you know, I mean, you're going foul play against Noctowl, so that doesn't change much. But if Aero Ace gets a buff, it's good, like a significant buff, it's going to be nice. But also more importantly, Noctowl and Altari got nerfs. And Altari was definitely a reliable counter to Mandibuzz because he had the Moonblast and you're just doing so much damage. Now, here's the thing. Yeah, you can say like, yeah, well, Gligar and Gliscor have ground coverage for Registeel, right? You're kind of getting walled off for the most part by Registeel with Mandibuzz, although you can hit back for neutral. You know, you're not great into Lantern, but neither is Gligar, Gliscor. But here's the thing. Well, also, Charizard's going to struggle against Lantern too, right? And Charizard definitely does beat Registeel. But here's my rationale. One of the best flying Pokemon in the meta, supposedly, like 6 months ago when they introduced the wing attack buff, was going to be Pelipper. And I remember when I made that tier list back then, like 6 months ago, or maybe 9 months ago, I don't remember specifically when. I put Pelipper in the S tier, and I was completely wrong. And it was Noctowl that completely ran the show. And I'm like, wait, why? Like, you have, like, we're in a Galarian Stunfisk meta. You have the Weather Ball for it. It beats Galarian Stunfisk consistently. But the problem is, you couldn't beat Noctowl consistently. You couldn't really beat Noctowl with Pelipper. And then also, you know, you get walled off by Registeel, but so does Noctowl. But the problem is, you are not the king of the flyers. And you have to use kind of the same rationale why Metasham is so high up. It is king of the fighters. And Manabuzz now is going to be the king of the flyers. I think it's probably going to be able to beat Altaria. Because, well, one, I don't think Altaria's going to be used much. But if it is, like, if you're just shielding the Moonblast and the Aerial Ace is doing a ton of damage, right? If it's better than Foul Play, you're going to win it. But I just don't even see a lot of Altaria. And outside of that, what are the other flyers that could even beat Mandibuzz? Like, it's going to outbulk the Charizard. And especially if Aerial Ace, the energy cost is decreased. Like, think about that. Aerial Ace is the same energy as Foul Play right now. If it's cheaper than that, you're throwing moves left and right with Aerial Ace. It's going to be nuts, right? So, in my opinion, yes, Gliscor look pretty good with the Aerial Ace buff, right? Charizard maybe looks good because now you have Noctowl and Altaria out of the way, the bulkier flying types that struggle against. But I think Mandibuzz is going to come out on top out of all the flyers. Yes, it gets completely walled off by Carbink. But, I mean, Noctowl was walled off by Lantern. Still, everyone ran it because it was so good in so many other matchups, right? And so that's my rationale, right? Yes, you completely get walled off by Carbink. You kind of struggle against Registeel. Okay into Lantern, right? Because they're running Water Gun. But then what about the rest? You're going to win all the other, like, you're going to beat all the remaining 3 Pokemon. They're probably not going to run all 3 anyway. But you're going to beat a lot of the other Pokemon. And I think Mandibuzz is going to be almost like the Noctowl of this upcoming season. Of how strong Noctowl was like 6 months ago. So, and yeah, it's going to be disgusting in Ultra League. So I actually think Mandibuzz is going to be stupid broken. So Skycat didn't nerf. This is going to be big. Noctowl is probably going to drop a lot in rankings. I mean, look, Noctowl barely beat Metasham before. I mean, that was more a symptom of how strong Metasham is. I think it's still really strong. I just don't know if it's going to be super, super relevant, unfortunately, anymore. Because that extra energy is going to cost it a little bit. You're not really doing a ton of damage with Wing Attack. I'll put it as top of C tier. It might be even bottom B tier. Let's put it at bottom B tier. I think I think it's okay. The problem is just like, it's still hard to run, right? But then again, Houselark was able to win a regional when it didn't have the wing attack buff. But having a lower energy move is much more valuable than having higher damage or damage purposes. Altaria is actually going to really struggle too. I'm going to put Altaria here. I think Altaria is going to be a little better in the Lantern meta because Lantern is going to be running Water Gun. But the problem is it's going to take longer to get to Sky Attack. And again, it's that Metasham matchup that makes it really awkward. Like, you're barely beating Metasham back before the Sky Attack got nerfed, right? And Sky Attack nerfed again, it's the energy increase, which makes it much harder to run. The next one's going to be Earthquake nerf. So this is going to be a little rough for Swampert, but honestly, Swampert's been meta for so long ever since it got Hydro Cannon. I think this is kind of overdue. It's still a good Pokemon. And the fact that it still wins the head-to-head against all the other Mud Boys is going to be pretty big. But with the Earthquake nerf, I think it's going to struggle a little bit in some matches. I don't know. I think it's still going to be really, really good. I'll put it at B tier. Honestly, I'm going to move it up a little bit. I don't think everyone's going to use it. But, like, a lot of times you're just throwing Hydro Cannon. You don't really need the Earthquake. Honestly, it might still be better than Diggersby. I'll put it top of A tier. I think Swampert's still actually really good. Yeah, you're going to be a little bit worse than a Lantern, so that is something to watch out for. You're going to be a little worse than the Medi, because sometimes you have to land the Earthquake. But against the Flyers, they're throwing Hydro Cannon, especially if Altaria is kind of out of the picture, you're fine there. Against Regiseal, it might just honestly against Regiseal, it might allow you to farm farm down, so it's not the worst. Out of the really meta Pokemon, Galarian Stunfisk, whew, this is gonna be rough because Medicham was already super strong. Now you got everyone running Water Gun Lantern, right? You got Mandibuzz that already had win cons against Galarian Stunfisk. Although Noctowl also did to a degree. So, but like, you could just go straight foul play, right? You might be able to bait with aerial waves because less energy than foul play, which is super awkward too. That the shield of aerial waves baits. You know, Swampert gets a nerf on this Earthquake, but the Hydrokin is still plenty, right? And Diggersby gets a slight buff, whereas you don't as Galarian Stunfisk. Whew! Dude, running Galarian Stunfisk is going to be hard, man. I don't know. I'll put this here. B tier Galarian Stunfisk. I never thought I'd see the day, but I think it's actually going to be B tier now. It's doing 10 less damage, and it was already much harder to use. And you can't really... Now, here's the difference. You might not be able to go straight... you might not be able to go win a Regiseal in, like, I think it was like a 0 shields, throwing... Or maybe the 1 shields, I forgot what the situation is. Throwing an Earthquake and Rock Slide. You now have to probably throw 2 back-to-back Earthquakes against Regiseal, which is just super uncomfortable. And like I said before, Poltergeist, Boom Burst, those changes really don't make that much of a difference in my opinion. So I'm not even going to cover any Pokemon that are really affected by those. Yeah, so all these Pokemon are things that are impacted by the moveset changes one way or another, either nerfs or buffs, or got a new move added. With the exception of 1 Pokemon. I probably could have thrown in 2 Pokemon, but I'm going to actually bring in Regiseal. Holy crap, Regiseal's good now. It's so strong. You nerfed Swampert, right? You nerfed Galarian Stunfisk. You kind of nerfed Medicham, but that nerf actually might come in handy because Medicham running Ice Punch Psychic, that Psychic's doing a little less damage. That might allow you to get another move off. I don't know. Or they have to go double. I don't know. It's like there's interesting situations where that nerf can potentially make a difference in some niche situations. Yeah, like you... I mean, those are the biggest nerfs, right? But it's just clear now that the King of Steel types is probably just going to be Regiseal. Alolan Sandslash has some play for sure, but it's a little less flexible, right? Because if you're stuck against a Medicham, it's kind of a bad situation. You're doing resisted Shadow Claw damage against Mandibuzz, like, it's kind of weird, right? I think it's Alolan Sandslash is still really freaking busted still. I just didn't have it on the list. But I think Regiseal, I want to emphasize, is at the top of this Steel list. It is going to be the Steel type of choice for sure. If you thought it was the Steel type of choice in this most recent season, it definitely is here. Yeah, you might see some people mix in Alolan Sandslash for their Steel types, but I'm pretty sure Galarian Stunfisk or Regiseal is going to be the top of it. You can say also Diggersby got a buff, right, with Scorching Sand. That's true, and that's a Regiseal counter. But Diggersby is a much better counter to Alolan Sandslash with Fire Punch, right? Double super effective Fire Punch, and you get to it so quickly, it's going to tear through all these Alolan Sandslash if you're running Fire Punch, Scorching Sand. Obviously, if you're running Scorching Sand, Hyper Beam, it doesn't make that much of a difference. But Scorching Sand is probably going to one-shot or come close to one-shotting Alolan Sandslash. I don't think it's going to one-shot a Regiseal by any means. Carbink, I didn't include on the list. It's simmed at number 1. It probably still would be simmed at number 1. I mean, Carbink is pretty strong. I don't know if it really benefited from a lot of these changes. Like, it was like a lot of these matchups like Swampert and Diggersby and Galarian Stunfisk is still going to lose before and after these changes. And the matchup was going to win. It was still going to beat Altaria regardless of the moveset change there. It was still going to beat Noctowl. And still going to beat Mandibuzz. So I don't think, like, that one just didn't really change much. It's a very, like, risky Pokemon to run, but it has a lot of high risk, high reward there. That's going to be it for my tier list. This is my predictions. Obviously, the update doesn't drop until tomorrow. It's going to be interesting to see how that goes. That's my tier list. Hope you all enjoyed it. Hope you have a great one. Peace out. Best of luck. And bring your Mandibuzz counters.